And abuse starts out small. Depending on the style of abuse, if your abuser chooses to use physical violence, he doesn't beat you up to begin with. He introduces the threat of violence and sees how you react. Right, off the back of the previous video, let me give you a few points about how to recognize abuse inside the relationship, and potentially how to recognize it early and to become robust against it. Here's a piece of bad news first. It's almost impossible to recognize abuse in the early stages of a relationship. Most of you abusive people have a very high degree of control over their abusive behavior. They turn it on and off at will. So they can act for almost as long as they want as a perfectly charming, emotionally available, friendly, helpful, kind, generous person. And they do that, especially in the beginning of the relationship, partly to lure you in. There is really no real distinction between a healthy and an unhealthy relationship in terms of abuse at the beginning. Makes it very difficult. There are things you can do to spot abuse, though, at the beginning. First thing is gain information about their previous partners, from their previous partners. I know it's atypical and it's a taboo subject, and that is used to great effect by abusers. Become increasingly suspicious if he or she speaks about their previous partner in very negative terms, such as they were abusive. That is an alarm bell, because most abusers turn accusations against them on their head. So they make you feel guilty and accuse you of the very things that they are guilty of, even if the previous partner acts abusive towards you. Yes, because the thing is, an abuser has a lot of manipulation tools at his or her disposal, and they can cause a lot of rage in the partner when leaving. So to the outside world, it would seem that the partner is either crazy, emotionally unstable, or abusive towards you guys. If you all of these are alarm bells. If you can, find a way to talk to their previous partner one-on-one in a safe environment and privately, and get the story. Why did they break up? What happened? And that is by far the best indicator of how things are. Secondly, what you can do is look at his parents' relationship, the primary caregivers. Now keep in mind, rules of abuse apply to their parents. In other words, if one of their parents is abusive, they will be very charming and friendly and helpful to the outside world. Try to see beyond that. Try to see what is the level of respect that you find inside the relationship, because an abuser can disguise being helpful and friendly towards you, but usually to the trained eye you'll be able to see the lack of respect inside their relationship. And I'm talking about the parents here, or primary caregivers. You'll be able to see and smell it and sense it, that there's tension there's lack of respect. Some abusers in public throw out jokes that are hurtful to the other person, and you sense that as well. They sort of sting. They will also make it a special point to be extra friendly and wonderful to you, because they want to be seen as very positive by the people around them. So that's another thing to watch out for. Yeah, everything that is extra friendliness and lack of respect towards their partner, which is covert because they will never show it directly. All of these things mean that most likely your partner is abusive, or rather increase the chances. And that's about it. That's what I can see, what you can see from the beginning of the relationship. The other thing that you could potentially look out for is the lack of respect towards the opposite sex in general, but that's not a very good tell, because many abusive people can work for a woman boss, for example. It's difficult to tell. So in the intermediate stages of a relationship, when abuse is at the beginning, how do you recognize it then? Inevitably, as the relationship progresses, there comes a point inside the relationship when the abuser feels they've lured you in well enough, or when the relationship reaches a threshold, such as moving in together or getting married, when the abuser starts to reveal their entitlement. They feel that the courtship begins to be over and the ownership of you begins, if you will. And abuse starts out small. Depending on the style of abuse, if your abuser chooses to use physical violence, he doesn't beat you up to begin with. He introduces the threat of violence and sees how you react. Well, you must keep in mind that abuse is the opposite of respect. So ask yourself at each stage in the relationship, how much respect am I getting inside the relationship? If I have something that is important to me, am I able to negotiate for that something that I want inside the relationship on an equal footing with having been given the proper respect? Also ask yourself, can I truly understand, have access to what my partner is truly thinking? Is he or she open with me in a consistent, normal fashion? Because practically all abusers have a huge interest in not being found out, not being open. They will keep you at arm's length psychologically. They will never really tell you about their true feelings and emotions. They may act aloof, or they may purposefully mislead you, and that's a very, very important tell. Almost one-to-one mapping. If your partner is you detect that your partner is purposely trying to mislead you, or rather not engaging emotionally in this relationship, that's a very strong sign. And of course, then there's the next stage where abuse becomes more obvious or more overt. But then this next stage has many asterisks around it, because again, what we recognize as abuse is usually either physical, so he beats you, or emotionally, he yells at you and puts you down. And while yes, those are forms of abuse, we fail to recognize that they're just the tip of the iceberg, and they're just few of the ways that abuse can take place. So recognizing it inside a relationship is not a non-trivial matter, even if it goes on for a long time, because a successful abuser will get under your skin, will make you doubt yourself, will make you think it is your fault, and only if you did that or the other, you're the one abnormal, you're the one with the problem. To the extent he's successful, you don't think you're in an abusive relationship, you just know that you're suffering and that it is your fault. If you do decide to leave a relationship that is abusive, most people leave after several attempts. Most people get the courage to leave first after a while away from the abuser, because if you're in doubt, for example, and want to clarify whether or not you are in an abusive relationship, take a vacation, take some time away from your abuser, because your abuser exercises a sphere of influence, and when you're inside that sphere of influence, your very mind, your very emotions are being played at and played against you, and your own vision becomes distorted. If you exit the relationship for a while, if you take a vacation, it will get the time to heal, and it will allow you to gain perspective. It will allow you to think without being influenced about your relationship. Hopefully it will allow you to see examples of other relationships that are not abusive. That is a very strong indicator, because it will get you a comparison. You'll see that your situation is indeed abnormal. There is something wrong with the situation, and hopefully you'll see that it is not your fault, it is the abuser's problem to fix.